In this video, I talk about the invincible forces behind binge eating. So we get into the invincible puppet master, his strategies and tactics, how we're enabling the puppet master, how impressions equal preference, and I close up the video with some action items. All right, the invincible puppet master. So are we in denial or uninformed? I spoke in a previous video about how what we eat is what we're made of. So if you're trying to be a leader, you need to be in the best shape possible. And most of that is dictated by what you eat. And as a dad, you being the leader of the household, you need to lead by example. You need to be making the best choices possible, not just for yourself, but for your family. You need to be that shining star, the person that your family looks up to. And diet is a big one, right? We believe, or at least the majority believes, that we make uninfluenced personal food choices. We don't even consider the possibility of any outside forces. Poison dressed up as food. I know many people that think just because the food is on the supermarket shelves, then it should be safe to eat, right? Otherwise, how could the store get the go-ahead to throw stuff that's probably hurting us on the supermarket shelves? And they use that as a reason to dive into all kinds of nasty food, food that's really supposed to be illegal, stuff that's not supposed to be in the store. But just the fact that it's in there, it gives them that extra comfort that there's somebody above looking out for them and making sure everything is up to standard. How to get away with poisoning the masses. So the answer to the issue of the supermarket shelves being filled with healthful food, it's one of those yes and no situations, right? How food gets there, like how it works is that federal agriculture and health agencies are headed by political appointees. The number one priority of any politician is to their party. It's to the party. And the party in power needs to be acceptable to Congress. And the laws that are passed by Congress must be aligned with the interests of the corporations that fund their campaigns. And a good chunk of these corporations are food producers. In other words, the people that make the rules on the kinds of food that end up on the supermarket shelves are getting paid by the businesses that they're supposed to be regulating. So yes, the actions of food companies, right? The food they get to the store, everything is legal, but it smells like a conflict of interest, if you ask me. Anybody with open eyes can see what's really going on here. The people that are selling you the food are the same people making the rules on what should be on the supermarket shelves. It stinks. And they have enormous influence over federal agencies and Congress. And we must wake up to the fact that these people are not our friends, right? It's just another business. The primary mission of food producers is to sell product. They're trying to sell as many units as possible, period, just like any other business. All right, his strategies and tactics. How the binge began. Early in the 20th century, America was plagued by diseases of undernutrition. The goal for health officials was to encourage everybody to just eat as much as possible, to eat more of all kinds of foods, like a variety of foods. Food abundance bites back. At the turn of the 20th century, the US economy improved exponentially, which provided access to a variety of foods. Diets improved and nutritional deficiencies declined. Today, the 20th century problem is flipped on its head. Nutritional problems in America have shifted to those of overnutrition. Matter of fact, instead of not overnutrition, overeating, right? Because it's a whole bunch of food with zero nutrition. Americans are eating a lot more than they need. And anybody that cares should be preaching eating less, especially the ultra-processed junk food. But that's the kind of message that the people that benefit from you eating more are not willing to put out there. And as I mentioned, the people that are benefiting from this eat more culture are the people that are putting lawmakers in place. And again, they're very influential. And I mean, they're not about to shrink their bottom line. What, for the benefit of the people? Hell no. Who is Big Food? This is any company involved in the production, processing, manufacture, and selling of food, drinks, and dietary supplements. Businesses involved in the sale of fertilizers, pesticides, seeds, and animal feeds. Any enterprise providing machinery, labor, real estate, financial services to farmers, and also transportation, storage, distribution, and marketing of food products after processing. This is a trillion-dollar web of industries that make up a good chunk of America's gross national product. They're very influential and they're very successful at what they do. They are the beneficiaries of the 20th century's push that till today encourages people to eat more food, enabling the puppet master, how we help them win. For starters, the bulk of the food industry's efforts goes into figuring out what the people need and how to get it to them, what they know about us. And what they found is that when there's an abundance of food and people can afford that food, basic biological needs are less compelling. The principal determinant of food choices then becomes personal preference, religion, taste, convenience, culture, and so on. You still hold the power. To sell food in this economy, food producers need to laser focus on meeting these needs. Nutrition is only considered if it's going to entice the buyer. And clearly, we're not asking for that, right? We're asking for pleasure. We're pleasure seeking through food instead of getting what is intended out of food, which is nutrition. So these people keep putting out food that's empty calories, right? Hence my point here. You still hold the power. If you are defiant and say no to the trash, eventually these businesses will find that out, right? If they're not making sales, they're ask why. That's business research 101. Why are these things not moving? And then if they do further research, they find that people are asking for more nutrition. But as it stands right now, we're not asking for that. Impressions equal preference. Culture shock. The amount of food advertising being pushed out to the public was one of my biggest culture shocks after immigrating to the US. It didn't make sense to me at the time. You need to eat, right? At least a few times daily. And it doesn't take much to go out and just pick up some food. At least that was what my naive immigrant brain was thinking. So why the hell is there so many billboards, highly produced, cinematic, 8K video advertising, constantly trying to sell me the newest chicken sandwich? I see them everywhere. Marketing works. And if it didn't work, no business would be willing to invest money in it. Huge amounts of money and talent go into this effort, marketing. Billions annually go to advertising. And what they have found is that food sales increase with intensity, repetition, and visibility of the marketing message. And one of their marketing messages is convenience. The structure of the American family has changed drastically in comparison to 20th century America, where you had stay-at-home moms. Today, everybody works and there is no time to do pretty much anything else, let alone make a home-cooked meal that's gonna take up, I don't know, hours of your day. And even when meals are eaten at home, it's usually like stuff from the frozen food section of the supermarket, right? The pre-boxed, pre-cooked stuff. Convenience also gave rise to snacking, especially among children. You looked at like some type of mean parent if you mention not giving your kids gummy bears or Lunchables or all this kind of convenience trash is what it is. Another reason for the whole bunch of marketing, is to be able to drive the narrative on what's considered healthy and good. Nutrition advice is some of the most confusing information out there. And it's clear the majority of the outlets giving this advice pull their information from research publications that are, again, in bed with food producers. So forget about that. That's not looking out for you, that information. And by the time any breakthrough gets to the news, it's usually oversimplified and it becomes this washed down soundbite, which means nothing, like how they said eat more in the 20th century. And a whole lot of marketing goes into new products. New products have been shown to increase overall sales of the product line. You know how there's always a new flavor of sodas, more especially in the summer. Sodas that don't even make sense, you know? It's like Snickers flavored Mountain Dew or whatever. Or you know how you see flashy new boxes of Oreos? That single one is probably not gonna make it, long, but it ends up just driving overall sales of Oreos or like the whole product line. Salt, sugar, fat. Michael Moss, in his book Salt, Sugar, Fat, talks about how food processing companies manipulate these three ingredients, right? Salt, sugar, and fat, to pretty much make the consumer addicted to the product. In an overabundant food market, like it is here in the US, food is cheap. So low costs bring on the pressure to add value to foods through processing. Then they can charge more for it. There isn't much you can do to sell potatoes, right? But if you can chop them up, fry them up, season them, then you can charge more for them. Food scientists, they know that most of us prefer sweet foods high in calories, fat, and sugar, and we like the taste of salt. This is what they're making sure to give us. This is a very good book. I read this book, I don't know, it's probably been 10 years maybe, and it blew my mind. I used to be, at the time, personal trainer, right? And very, very into working out, but I did not know much about nutrition and diet. And after I met my wife, she was a nutrition major. Yeah, this book here, Michael Moss, check it out. It just breaks down some of the things that you don't even think about it, right? Where are they making these ingredients or these additives? Where are they coming from? Who's making this food? Because like most of the foods in fast food spots come in big bags. If you've worked in a fast food joint, you know this. Things come pre-made. All you do is pretty much just warming them up. Everything comes in bags, seasoned, just ready to go. This book will show you all the dirty secrets and everything that's going on under the hood. It's a classic. Food scientists also know that we love big portions. Usually getting bigger portions is cheaper than getting smaller portions. And serving sizes are usually misleading. It's usually based off, if you get like a 9-ounce bag of cookies, right? The nutritional label is only showing you the contents of one cookie, right? Like a serving size is one cookie in a 9-ounce bag. It's a little bit misleading. How about you tell me how much the whole thing is? Like, who's gonna eat one cookie out of a 9-ounce bag? When you get cookies, you're most likely going to go through the whole thing, right? So just to be a little less misleading, I'd rather they just give it to me for real. Like, what's really going on here? How much am I gonna consume if I eat the whole thing? Because that's what's going to happen. All this is an effort to have us eat more of this stuff and get hooked. That's the only way we can come back for the fix, right? Is if you're addicted to it. And that's how these people make a whole lot of money. I think 2017 all the way till 2020, pretty much all I was doing was trying to figure out why the hell it's so hard to just get good food out here, right? It doesn't even make any sense. It's a desert. If you want to learn more about stuff like this, I really geek out on this stuff. Just leave a comment and I got you. Some action items. For starters, just educating yourself about the food supply chain is a good first step. I work retail and it's insane seeing how people react to opening the freezer and finding their favorite flavor of ice cream is not there. It's like the world is pretty much crumbling down for them. And that is just a sign of not really knowing what's going on in the background, Hell, just the fact that you're getting store-bought ice cream is a sign that you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. Or at least if you do know, you're ignoring it and you don't care about your health. How is this stuff getting to you? Like, where is it coming from? What's in it? And why is it so cheap? So education is always a very good first step to making that change. The historian Harvey Lavenstein, in his book, The Paradox of Plenty, he outlines the social consequences of food abundance. Yeah, this book here, Paradox of Plenty, A Social History of Eating in Modern America. Pretty good book. Check it out. Maybe even pick up a copy. $6 for a used copy. Most relevant to this video, he shows the major differences in diet and health between rich and poor Americans. And he finds that wealthy Americans tend to be more educated, right? Healthier, and choose better diets. They also avoid smoking and drinking, and they're more physically active. Low-income groups, however, are usually not as educated and choose diets that are high in calories and also display higher rates of obesity and chronic disease. Don't be afraid to look into it yourself. The internet is like the equalizer when it comes to knowledge. There's cheap books and a whole bunch of, free videos on YouTube, kind of like this one, that will teach you pretty much anything you want to learn, right? And learning about the food you eat, the thing you're made of, the food that fuels you on a daily, fuels you and your family and your kids. You want to learn about what's going on. A lot of people know the food is bad, right? But then there's the tendency of just kind of ignoring it, like it's the norm, it's whatever, you know what I mean? You need to learn about it and then assimilate and implement the knowledge and make better choices, live healthy, and have your kids be healthy as well. So science is not this all-knowing God that we should put all our faith in. Like any science, nutrition science is more a matter of probabilities rather than absolutes. And also the scientist is to the government like the sorcerer was to the medieval kings. Federal government agencies invoke science as a basis for regulation. And again, to do science costs money. And who's paying for this sciencing that's going on in these labs? It's usually corporations. Usually whatever is being looked at is being paid for by the people that are producing the thing. So a lot of it is a whole bunch of lies is what it is. You need to just keep that in your mind. And then food and supplement companies do pretty much the same thing. They invoke science to oppose regulations and dietary recommendations that might negatively affect their profits. In other words, the data is fudged to suit whatever the goal is. Whoever holds the most power is pretty much twisting and bending the science to fit their needs, which is growing the bottom line. We should be more self-sufficient and kind of start looking into things like this instead of delegating the task to the people that are profiting from food sales. The poison is on the food shelves because we're willing to pay for it, right? So you still hold the power. It's crazy how we're willing to walk into fast food joints and pay. And prices now for fast food, they've been jacked up. They're still making money though, right? Because we're hooked. Still go there and, pay for sandwiches or whatever. So if you stop buying it, well, it reflects on the bottom line. If their profits start shrinking, they want to find out why. And if they find out that their product is not moving, they find out that you want more nutritious food, these people are just businessmen trying to make money, right? And if you have a business, you want to give the people what they need. Right now, we're asking for stuff that makes our taste buds happy, but we're not asking for nutrition. We're not asking for stuff that makes us healthy and fit. So if we ask for it, they will provide it. If that's what's going to make them money, they will start putting more of that out there. And then lastly, click the link in the description and join the Graceful Fatherhood group where we can all talk, share ideas uncensored, and also be the first to know whenever I post videos like this in the group. So go ahead, click that link. And with that being said, thank you very much for spending your time with me today, and I'll see you on the next one.